All right, it's a rainy day out, so it's the perfect day to give you guys kind of a long-term review on the 2018 Husqvarna FE 350. This would be a follow-up to my first review. Now that it's been pretty much a year of ownership, I've put 107 hours on this bike and 2,550 miles in that time period. So I feel like now I really have a good feeling of this bike, what it's capable of, and ownership of the bike itself. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about how this last year has been, the things I like, things I don't like, and what I've done to this bike. So let's jump into it. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that I've done to this bike. As you'll notice, it's no longer rocking the stock white and blue plastics. I ended up changing out the plastics for some black plastics, fork guards up front, and then the black plastics up here. I think that adds a really nice look to the bike. I actually like it a lot better than the stock factory colors. These plastics are from Acerbi's and they fit really well. Another thing that I did was replace the blue seat cover. I picked this Attack Graphics seat cover. It was really cheap and it's held up really well so far. I put Enduro plate on the back end, and actually I redid the whole back end. I didn't like the stock tail light assembly on this bike. It's huge and bulky and it flops around all over the place. So what I did, well, rather what my wife did, is she got me the TE tail for Christmas, and then I had already bought some sick ass turn signals. And so I swapped in the tail and then put the sick ass turn signals in there, and then ordered an Enduro plate because I didn't want to mess up the nice tail that this bike now has. Another thing that I added was the Acerbi's wraparound handguards. Before I was rocking the perch mount handguards, and those actually worked really well, but I did pinch my finger in a race once, so I decided it was time to upgrade. Another thing I've done is I got the Polysport swing arm protectors, and I like them. They do keep your swing arms from being gouged by large rocks or things like that, but you do have to be careful if you're riding in areas where the dirt's going to be wet or a little bit muddy, because dirt can get in and behind those swing arm guards and end up scratching your swing arm by being trapped in there between the guard and the swing arm and moving around. So you do have to take them off periodically and clean them out really good, just to make sure that doesn't happen. But other than that, I really like them. So how has this thing been mechanically over the last year? Well, it's actually been really good. I've only had one issue with the bike, and it just wouldn't start. I had washed it one weekend and then it sat for a whole week, and then I was getting it ready for a race and it just wouldn't start. It would just crank and crank. So I took the tank off and everything, and I inspected everything and didn't find any issues, and I put it back together and it fired up. So I don't know what the problem could have been, but I haven't had that problem yet since. So that's really the only problem this bike has had mechanically, and yeah, I don't know why. One thing I did do really early on, probably about 30 hours or 40 hours, was replace the stock cam chain tensioner with a Dirt Tricks cam chain tensioner. That's something I would highly recommend. The stock one is only hydraulic, and what you'll notice, and some of you may have similar bikes and notice that when you're riding, and if you shut the bike off for a little bit and start it again, your cam chain, the motor is pretty loud and clacky until you build up oil pressure again and it quiets out. That's the stock cam chain tensioner. So the Dirt Tricks one completely takes that away, and so it keeps your cam chain tension tight all the time. There's no possibility for it to slack up and jump timing or anything, because it has a spring in addition to the hydraulic force. So it's pretty much foolproof, and definitely recommend that upgrade. Other than that, it's been pretty routine maintenance, just kind of some of the yearly stuff like changing your fluids and greasing bearings and the swing arm and all that stuff. I haven't had any other mechanical issues with this bike since purchasing it. It's been perfect, and it's done everything I've wanted it to do. Coming up, however, I will be doing probably a TPS adjustment, knocking out the end screen and knocking out the reeds. The guy from tpstool.com sent us one of his nicer TPS adjusters. So we're gonna use that on my bike in addition to the Mototerra intake tube, and then just knock out the screen here and see if we can tell a difference between my bike and Alice's bike, if that end cap makes a noticeable difference in the bike. And then after that, I think I'm gonna return the TPS back to factory and either do a Vortex or a JD tuner. Haven't decided yet. The big question is, do I regret anything over this last year of ownership? Do I regret the choice on the bike size or anything of that? And the answer would be no, I don't regret anything. I'm super happy that I went with the 350 as opposed to the 450 and 500. I know I could have made either of those bikes work, but this bike is just so at home in all of the stuff that I ride and just my riding style. And it really kind of fits me in what I'm looking to do on a bike. And that was really something that's lightweight, nimble, and built for tight single track and really, you know, aggressive, gnarly stuff, but not as small as say the 250 or even a two-stroke. I needed to have a plated bike, so that kind of took two-stroke out of the picture here in Oregon, and I knew I wanted a little bit more power than the 250, so that's kind of where the 350 came in, and I've had no qualms with it over this last year of ownership. The bike performs flawlessly, and it does everything I want it to do, and I couldn't ask for more. You know, if you guys are on the fence about picking up a 350, 450, or 500, I would say if you have friends that have any of those bikes, ride them. I was fortunate enough to be able to test ride a 250, an 18 model, and that sold me on this bike. I knew I wanted a little bit more power than the 250, but I knew I liked that lightweight, nimble, really mountain bike type feeling. So ride your friends' bikes if they have 450s or 500 and see what you think, see how they feel. Well, that really wraps things up here. I think I pretty much covered everything. I hope to have this bike for a few more years before upgrading to something else, who knows, but I feel like it's gonna give me a lot of life, and I'm still super stoked on it and super happy that riding season and the snow is melting in the hills and that those trails will be open soon. So I definitely can't wait to get out there and continue riding this and do some more races on it this year. But I hope you guys found this video informative. Hopefully it answered any questions you may have had, or maybe you were sitting on the fence about getting a newer bike or even a used one. I'd say go for it either way. These bikes are amazing, and you really can't go wrong with anything new these days. A lot of good bikes out there. So stay tuned for some upcoming videos. Like I said, TPS adjustment on this one. Hopefully some good riding videos coming up as well. Subscribe, tell your friends, and see you guys out on the trail.